And we're back.
And we're back.
And we're back. Welcome back to Zoom Back Camera, the Browning Cinema's digital online film forum. And a big welcome to Dr. Bettina Spencer.
Hi, everyone out there.
Hey. A quick note before we get going. Would like to say that, and I read this to get it right, that during these uncertain times that have moved us out of the physical Browning cinema and into a virtual one, our thoughts are with those battling the virus, battling isolation, battling precarity, and battling the fear inherent to this moment. And alongside that, we want to extend our thanks and appreciation to first responders, medical professionals, grocers, public transit workers, childcare workers, and anyone else on the front lines. Zoom Back Camera is a small thing to offer, but we do hope these conversations about movies we love will buoy your day and continue the education, fellowship, and dialogue with which we love to bracket our films in the Browning cinema. Also in the Browning cinema, we have a tradition of shaking hands before screenings. So for those of you who are in the chat, feel free to say hi, make yourself known, and along the way, please do offer comments, questions. We work on a 30-second delay, so we will try and incorporate them back, but we do like hearing from you. Now back to you, special guest, Dr. Bettina Spencer.
That's me.
Are you in your bedroom right now?
I'm in somebody's bedroom. If I look at the artwork, it might be a 17-year-old girl circa 2002.
I wonder who that might be.
We'll find out.
But Professor Spencer, tell us a little bit about your background, your job, and the research that you do.
Sure. So I'm a social psychologist, which is the coolest type of psychology because
clinical.
Sometimes we need psychologists who study big social movements and how society functions and when we are willing to help each other or hurt each other. So I'm a social psychologist, and my specific research is on stereotyping and prejudice, which I have been studying since 1999, when I took my first stereotyping and prejudice course with Dr. Nilanjana Dasgupta, who's the best. And more specifically under that umbrella, I look at the intersections of classism, racism, and sexism, and even more under that umbrella, really sort of how stereotypes connected to those intersections play out in real world settings like the legal system or educational systems.
Like Catholic schools?
That could be one such situation where some of those intersections might be relevant.
Well, not only is it relevant for what's going on in the world, but it is very relevant to this film. And thank you for choosing Lady Bird. When we showed it at the Browning Cinema, huge response, in part because the Notre Dame Folk Choir was actually featured on the soundtrack. And so there was that direct Lacanian moment. But beyond that, it's just a film that I think has both very granular elements that pop out to big universal levels. So I think it's a great film for all of us to discuss. So let's go ahead and hop into the movie.
Let's do it.
Okay, so we start with a great Joan Didion quote. Anyone who talks about California hedonism has never spent a Christmas in Sacramento. I've never been to Sacramento, but this still resonated for me. What's your emotional distance from this film?
Yeah, not far. I've never been to Sacramento, but this film, when I first saw the trailers for it, I was not emotionally prepared. I was not psychologically prepared. I was not spiritually prepared to see my life played out in a movie. Also bummed because my half-written screenplay Downriver, I feel like this really stepped on its toes. And
Probably got eyes on that at New York at some point when you were overlapping.
exactly. But I mean, it's not so much of a distance because Lady Bird's story is very, very similar to my own in many freakish details. Not the Sacramento part. So I'm a downriver Detroit girl. And I think you could replace Sacramento with downriver Detroit in some aspects. Well, maybe not the full quote, but yeah. I was nervous when this movie came out, and I held my breath the first time I watched it because I was terrified.
White knuckling.
All the way through.
By the way, I'm curious for those of you who might be in the comments, if this is your first time seeing it, or it was a repeat viewing, or also just quick reactions, go ahead and get that flowing, things you might have thought about the film. I saw this movie for the first time at a film festival, and I was late to the screening, barely got in. And so the only seat available was in the first row of an IMAX theater.
I saw The Wedding Singer on a date.
Yeah, it's really close. It was so big and so close. That was a lot to work through.
But wow, to see a Laurie Metcalf performance that big and close, that's something special.
Well, we might get to that in a second too. But after the quote, we get a great opening with the Marion and Ladybird, Christine Ladybird, in the hotel in a car after they've done some college trips. And very quickly, they establish a mother-daughter similarity through an emotional reaction to these Grapes of Wrath audio tapes. So setting the time as well, super efficient. But then also bickering. The we're so similar mother-daughter thing, so we fight. Is that a trope or is that a real deal?
I think it's a column A, column B. I think it's both. So it is a trope, but I think sometimes we write what we know, and
like Greta Gerwig, she does that.
Yeah, and you know, I think parent-child dynamics are really complicated. I think mother-daughter dynamics are really complicated, and I think mother-daughter dynamics during that time of adolescence, emerging adulthood, where you're working so hard to stake your own identity, are kind of like maybe the worst years for some of those relationships.
And as we're meeting both of them very quickly, we get to meet one Laurie Metcalf. Any thoughts on the work of Ms. Metcalf?
Viewers beware. This is a takeover. This is now a Laurie Metcalf stand show, and we will spend the next 58 minutes talking Laurie Metcalf. I love Laurie Metcalf. I come from a Midwestern theater scene. A Laurie Metcalf, Tracy Letts billing, takes me back to Steppenwolf, 1979, 1981. I'm wearing a shirt.
We're regular.
Regularly featured on One Aunt Jackie. And I think one of the best shows, if you haven't watched it, I know you have probably, Ricky, but viewers, Getting On. Getting On brings the Aunt Jackie wackiness with the Marion McPherson stillness into one perfect Laurie Metcalf renaissance. But I mean, in all seriousness, I think she's our best actor because we know the physicality side. We know Aunt Jackie. If you've seen her live, if you've had the honor of seeing her live, it's body work, body work, body work.
Body, yada, 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 yada,
body,
yada,
yada, yada. A recent run in Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf, body, 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 like it's all you see. But her performance as Marion McPherson is devastating on how quiet it is. And I'm sure we'll get to the scene where she and Lady Bird are fighting, and Lady Bird's like, I bet your mom never did this to you. And she just said, my mother was an abusive alcoholic, and leaves the room. Yeah. Devastating. Devastating.
She'll shut the door on you.
Boom. And that she did not win the Oscar. Like Allison Janney did a great job, I, Tanya, but that's a character, that's all chump and scenery character. The stillness and nuance of a Laurie Metcalf with a real annoying daughter and a husband who's out of work and a tough job and a kindness to every stranger she meets, which is something I want to circle back around to.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is Laurie Metcalf's movie. I know it's Greta Gerwig's semi-autobiographical. I know it's a Saoirse Ronan. I know it's a Timmy Chalamet, but this is a Laurie Metcalf vehicle.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I stand behind that.
She's driving that car. Lady Bird can't drive. So then moving to the title sequence, we are brought into Catholic school. Are you a Catholic school alumna yourself?
I am not. I'm a public schoolie, so I'd like to hear your perspective on the Catholic school take. I don't know that world. It's not my world.
A Galen Catholic High School. A signed, sealed, delivered 2000.
Ooh.
Well, the opening sequence is great in that it resonates both time and place very closely for me. The attempts to jazz up perfunctory exercises, not that Mass is a perfunctory exercise, but many people, because it's routine, you try and do something. So the ribbon dancers in the aisle really said something to me. A slouching Darlene as a lector, someone who's going to protest and not take communion. That's this when she gets blessed. These are great touches that get you into, okay, some people are very much going through the paces during a period in your life when, yeah, it's a moving walkway.
Yeah.
You're going. But then we move out of that, and she meets with Sister Sarah Joan, who, if people haven't seen Marjorie Prime, excellent turn in that, might want to check it out. And we learn that Lady Bird consistently runs for office, not winning. And this is where we start to see what one might call an up and out.
It's an up and out.
Yeah, it is a type B Tracy flick.
Yes. The up and out energy, and this is something I think we'll probably need to circle back to, is something you and I have talked about before. It's one of the reasons I had a white knuckle through this movie. I hit a point in my high school career where I was tired of, because I was like the wacky weirdo thrift shop clothes. That's a no uniform situation for those of you who went to Catholic school. So, you could do what you wanted clothing wise. And boy, did I. Actually, this shirt is from the 90s. This is an original Monroe High look here for me.
Which, if someone missed, is featured in an episode of Roseanne, right?
Multiple. One of the good things about that show is that they re-wore clothes like normal people do. A sweatshirt with a rooster on it, a bear shirt. Exactly.
It's a real menagerie.
So as somebody who was very similar to Lady Bird, like I hit a point, I want to say 10th or 11th grade, where I decided to run for everything. So a president, honor society, a German club officer. I was in a teen outreach theater where we went to schools and taught kids to say no to drugs through theater. Peer counseling. I mean, I ran for everything with my very not great grades. That's an up and out. That's an up and out. Some up and outs do get the 4.0. I think that comes with some other dimensions. But a lot of us up and outs, a Max Fisher of Rushmore, a Lady Bird, we have energy to us that doesn't always come across academically, but you run for president. You run for homecoming. Well, no, you don't run for homecoming court. You maybe run a campaign to get onto homecoming court and say, vote for your Alterna queen.
Yeah. You're Aiden saying?
Yeah. Yeah, a real downriver Detroit, vote for your downriver queen. And you know what? The weirdos rally.
Mhm. Yeah, lots of fuses lit.
Yep.
Uh, Cannons don't always go off though.
No, but you
Yeah,
start it. You start a
yeah.
chain, a little chain. Yeah.
So after that, we move in and we meet very, again, I use the word efficiently a lot, but efficiently, the McPherson family. We meet Shelley and
Hmm.
Miguel at the grocery. We have Marion being charitable to a coworker, and we have Larry and Marion talking about the kids having sex,
Hmm.
showing that they know what's going on in this world, that they have that. And then breakfast squabbles, where there are multiple sinusoidal arguments just happening at once.
Hmm.
Family dynamics strike you as legit in these scenes?
For sure. Yeah, it felt very legit. I really loved how a lot of these dynamics come through in the family bathroom, the shared bathroom as well. Um, because this idea that there are houses that have multiple bedrooms and multiple bathrooms, that's just not how most people live. So the realness of that tight space, of the lives overlapping in a way that you can't really separate out. Miguel and Shelley are having sex on the pull-out couch, like in the family rec room where the computer is. So everybody has to like take their turns on the computer. When you have family overlapping their multiple lives like that, you see each other's medications. You are in each other's business. You are clustered around a table. And I think lives become really deeply intertwined. So it felt very realistic to me. And I love the Miguel Shelley component of the family. I love that Shelley lives with them. And Shelley later on in the movie talks about how she really actually admires Marion. She's a generous person. She's a charitable person. She took Shelley in because Shelley's parents did kick her out after finding out she had sex. Whereas those McPhersons are just kind of rolling, you throw another potato in the pot and you move Shelley in.
Yeah.
That's what you do. You keep it moving.
And then we head to the school, Immaculate Fart. We meet the people who are going to be playing around us. We get a Jenna Walton and a Range Rover. And then we have a good conversation about self-pleasure while they're eating unconsecrated communion wafers. So
Again, something I don't quite understand.
It's something taboo, but not as bad as it would be.
Okay.
So not too far from what masturbation would be potentially, right? Like,
Right.
it's sinful, but it's not as sinful as something.
It could be worse.
Yeah, they're working on those. And then Darlene, fan favorite here, calls them out on it. Then we get to the musical auditions, and we have everybody says don't. We have a rolling along, a make me a channel of your piece, and a giants in the sky. Which one of those are you auditioning with?
Everybody say don't. Yeah, I mean, you got to do something jazzy. It has to be high energy. It has to make someone tap their toes. How about you?
I'm going with giants in the sky.
Oh,
So I don't have to hit notes as many.
they're giants. You just have to yell it.
Yeah, I just got to have like big ranges. Whether or not they're on point doesn't necessarily matter.
No, just sing it loud.
Mm-hmm. And during Giants in the Sky, both Julie and Lady Bird fall in love with Danny, which, musical theater auditions, barking up the wrong tree.
Yeah, but you fall in love with whoever's in that play with you, don't you?
You do. It's a tight circle.
You look around, you do an ocular pat down, and you look for someone to have a crush on, basically, when you're in a play.
Yeah, that's the idea of it.
Yeah.
And Julie and Lady Bird, their relationship, we now get into the meat of that. How do you read the two of them together?
I think it's a great dynamic. I think sometimes in these movies, they have one of the characters being like really outstanding and the other's the tag along, or one's really special and the other's kind of a blah. But I think Julie and Lady Bird balance each other out in nice ways. They understand each other's backgrounds. Julie is actually really good at math and she can sing and she does a good job. Lady Bird has a lot of the confidence without much much of the ability to back her up, which again I think is great. I love a Max Fisher moment. So it felt like a balance. It didn't feel like, oh, a tortured, you're the star, you're the second fiddle, you're the sidekick. It felt like their friendship went back a long ways. We see this later on in the movie again. We see a closeness to them. And so I appreciate that Julie kind of had her own things that she was able to excel in. Now, she was like obviously more introverted than Lady Bird and, you know, was going to give herself an A- when the grade book was stolen rather than an A. But
She's not an up and out.
No, she's not an up and out.
Lady Bird's inflated in that grade.
Yep. She's not, she doesn't have the up and out energy, but sometimes up and outs need that balance. Sometimes two up and outs in high school.
Yeah.
Although
I've seen it.
Having said that, my best friend Jeremy, he's an up and out, and we up and outed each other right on out of there. But he's the one who did actually have talents and abilities.
But
he did actually have the 4.0.
Like how people are able to be launching pads for one another.
Right.
And part of it is, oh, we want different things.
Mm-hmm.
Like there aren't scarce resources.
Mm-hmm.
You see the world is big. We just know we got to get out.
We got to get up. We got to get out.
And then there's a great interaction between Lady Bird and Danny at the grocery store. That Saoirse Ronan across films knows how to swoon. She's got that
She can
skill.
swoon. Yeah.
And you got Danny in a colored button down with a white high undershirt. Which, if you go back to my yearbooks, is literally every boy's picture. And Danny wants a perm to look like Jim Morrison despite his short hair. Worst high school hair decision for you?
The little Bjork rosettes I wore to prom. And not just to prom, FYIs. I mean, that was just the hardest I tried on them.
Okay. That's when you really, really invested.
Yeah, that's when I bought the little actual like metal rosettes from the craft store that you could weave through the hair rosettes to match my dress.
It's a lot of barrettes. And then getting into Merrily We Roll Along, choice of a musical for them to do. Are you familiar with Merrily We Roll Along?
I am not familiar with this musical. Is this a real thing they did?
Yeah. It's a famous in that it was such a flop. I think there's now a movie about like the opening of it, just the process. So she was a real disaster. It's really, really great. And we also see Father Levittich, I think I'm saying it correctly, in the warm-up games.
Oh.
First to cry.
Oh.
And this is something that a lot of people think of this like, oh, Catholic schools are just stuffed with doctrinaires and harshness, but there are a ton of very, very humanistic acoustic guitars at mass playing folks, and he's one of them.
Oh.
Yeah. Someone who may not be one of them, Mr. Bruno. Every school has one. Was there a hot young teacher people fell for you?
Gross. Yeah, there was. I won't say why it gets so gross, but I will just say it was gross. And he was my class advisor. And when I was president of Student Senate and was nominated to the homecoming court, I know I know that I was going to either be first or second place because the student senate counted the votes. And when it came time to announce the votes and the skeezy, scuzzy faculty advisor got up to say who was homecoming queen and runner up, I do believe who won first was actually first. She was in bands and she was pretty and she was nice.
Voting block.
Exactly. I do not think the second place person got that many votes, but I do think that teacher he thought she was nice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'll leave it there. So, but yeah, lots of people thought he was the hot teacher, and I thought he was the big old grosso.
Heading to the Western dance, it is a bit of it always kind of cuts me the wrong way when high school dances are too nice.
Yeah.
But what was the best high school dance for you? What was the best look, set, decoration?
We never had decorations. Like,
just some potato sacks hanging from the ceiling.
We were just in the cafeteria and they dimmed the lights and moved the tables to the side. I don't remember decorations. We never had like themes other than Winterfest and homecoming, but we didn't really decorate for them. So whenever I've seen a dance in a movie, I'm like, yeah, like we didn't, or our themes would be like silver and red.
Oh, like wedding dances.
Yeah, I guess. Did your high school actually like have decorations and themes?
I mean, real light, but we had themes like the heat is on, you know.
I wish we had a theme.
That's a tough upbringing.
If we had dances outside of homecoming and Winterfest and prom, but prom was always outsourced to a hotel somewhere, so it was just banquet decorations.
Well, I hope that you're able to close that chapter. Heading home from the dances, we get a lot of high moments for Lady Bird, and then you come home and the things bottom out. And in particular, it's domestic problems. And this is a moment where they're talking about Larry being fired and Marion. And we get the scene you were mentioning with Metcalf, just called Marion Metcalf, talking about her mother as an abusive alcoholic. What about, you talked about stillness. What else for that do you think jumps out?
To me, it is just, she says it all in 3 words. And it's not meant to be brutal to Lady Bird. It's not meant to be mean to her. It's not meant to even like put her in her place. It is just the truth. It is just the truth that Lady Bird is having a meltdown because she doesn't want to put her clothes away. And she thinks Marion's the worst mother in the world. And Marion's just like, no, I'm not. And she doesn't linger on it. She doesn't stop to look at Lady Bird. She just leaves the room. And again, it's not meant to crush Lady Bird. It's just the truth. And I think Marion is a woman who very much has to live in the truth. She's not allowed anything else. So when she is allowed just the tiniest bit of flexibility and freedom, she gets a gift for a coworker. She says hello to people she knows in the thrift shop. She can chat with people in grocery stores. But in her home, she doesn't really get that flexibility. She just has to TCB, like she just has to get stuff done. And she doesn't have time to coddle Lady Bird yet. And this connects to something the sister says to Lady Bird later on about love being attention. She'll also stay up late and work on Lady Bird's dresses for her, right? Like she doesn't, there's not a lot of frills in that home, but she takes care of business. So when she just says, my mother was an abusive alcoholic, period. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
And
I'm not the worst mother.
yeah, and she'll take the final word on things.
Yeah.
Like she affords herself that.
Yeah. Now pick up your clothes.
Nice. So then but then she gets out of there, Lady Bird, for a date with Danny, and actually defends her mom. She's willing to defend her mom. He says, your mom's so hard on you. And she says, well, she loves me a lot. They name a star. By the way, when I ask Dr. Spencer things, you can also answer in the comments yourself if you have thoughts on this, but what would you name your star?
Oh, I mean, because you have me in a nostalgic mood, I feel like I need to name it Monroe, which is my hometown, but also a good name.
That is a good name.
We were named after President Monroe, who never actually made it to town.
Was it one of those, oh, sorry, something came up kind of things?
Yeah, yeah.
Always had something better to do.
We're between Detroit and Toledo, so I think you made it to one of those places, but we got stuck with Monroe. So I think I'd name my star Monroe. What would you name your star?
Claude.
Oh, you don't think that's pretentious?
I'm a little. We then get another great example of up and outs with the throwing away of math exams.
Yes.
These things to me, quick definition of what sociopathy might be, but I mean, I can see up and out and sociopathy potentially conjoining. Is that like
there might be a sliver in the Venn. There might be a sliver.
I'm thinking of like a Tracy Flick tearing down posters.
Exactly.
Like these moments.
It's a little Machiavellian, maybe, because it's all you have. So it might be read as Machiavellian or sociopathic, but also when resources are scarce, although we have to think of resource in a different way when I say that, but when options are limited, sometimes, and you know, to save your life, you have to get up and out. You know, you cannot stay in Sacramento. Sometimes you got to toss that grade book. Sometimes you got to tear down a poster.
Yeah. Mr. Bruno's not gonna, Mr. Bruno doesn't care. Why should you?
Exactly. I feel like up and outs tend to, right or wrong, frame things in terms of like larger picture and goal planning. And that's where maybe the Machiavellianness comes through. It's a long game.
Well, yeah, because it is a distant goal.
Yeah, it's a long game. Like you chip it away, you chip it away, you chip it away. Sometimes you're ripping a poster, sometimes you're tossing a grade book, sometimes you're doing a who's know what. But that's what you got to do if you're going to get up and out, or it feels like that's what you have to do.
We now have the great dress shopping scene where they bicker and fight, then come together over the dress, which Marion alters so that Lady Bird is able to go to Danny's Thanksgiving. We're boyfriends and girlfriends. I call them partners, but it's high school, so I don't know. Boyfriends and girlfriends of your cousins in high school allowed to extended family functions? Absolutely.
We definitely have a throw another potato in the pot mentality. Yeah, for sure. And when we didn't have boyfriends or girlfriends, Jeremy and I were always each other's plus ones. We do 2 Thanksgivings, a stovetop at his house, a stovetop at my house.
That's actually a basis of a stovetop commercial.
Yeah, that's what we shaped our holidays around. What time is stovetop at your house? So when I didn't have a boyfriend, which was often, Jeremy was at all my functions. And then when he didn't have a girlfriend, I was at all of his family functions. So I was at all of his family functions. But yeah, cousins, girlfriends, whoever, you just increase the casserole.
And then we head to Thanksgiving. I remember seeing this and thinking like, oh, grandma looks so much like Nancy Reagan. And then there's the actual Reagan poster. But I remember high school being in high school, Thanksgiving weekend in particular, being the weekend when high school kids would act up.
Oh yeah. You run wild on Thanksgiving weekend. That Wednesday night before. Yeah.
That Friday after.
Wild.
That armory dance, people are going nuts. And then we are introduced to Kyle in the garage band. Your favorite garage band of Monroe growing up?
Well, I can't say it out loud because every straight boy I knew was in one, and I'm still friends with many of them today, so I can't say out loud, but boy, oh boy, when I meet a straight man who brags about having a high school band, I don't care. I don't care. They're between ages 35 and 45. I'm not impressed because every straight boy I know in high school had a garage band.
Yeah, you also had shoes. Great. When they come home, Marion has that nice moment of being very sweet because she's around her friends, but does give a little dig. We missed you at Thanksgiving, a sweet one. And that's when Shelley gives, in her goth wisdom, through a plume of clove smoke.
Oh, it's sweet. It's sweet.
Ooh, fiberglass. And I like that Shelley is a deliverer of reality. Same way Miguel is. Like,
yep.
It is wisdom, intragenerational wisdom being forced down.
I love the Shelley character. And I mean, there is something about women writing women, right? Where you get a Laurie Metcalf, you get a Shelley, you get a Lady Bird, you get a Jenna, you get a Julie, where they all, even if they don't have much screen time, you do have a sense of who they are. We don't know Shelley's backstory, but we know Shelley. We know a Shelley. And I love that moment between Lady Bird and Shelley. Just, again, sort of that dose of like, I really look up to your mom. I think she's really generous. And Marion was, yeah, she is. I cringe when Marion that Thanksgiving night wakes up and all those kids are in her house eating her food because she wants to scream. Like, to have kids in your house late at night eating your microwavables, which are probably rations.
Your next days.
Yeah, and she just says, "Oh, great, have fun. We missed you." Like, that is a mother's love right there.
Shoving it down.
Yep.
Head to a Merrily We Go Along production. Any greatest hits for you?
Just love that costuming. I love a bold color.
A primary colored t-shirt. All the same size with a black
slap.
Oh man. Woo. I also liked how the priest says that they just didn't understand it.
I love that. He's like devastated.
Yeah, and Miguel and Shelley just being like, "This is so stupid." And then the heartbreak that comes at the post-show dinner.
Yeah.
Taking up 3 booze, being hell on earth for whomever is serving them in that restaurant.
Yep, it's a Denny's on North Dixie. It's where you go, you drink coffee, even though it tastes terrible because you don't like coffee because you're a teenager. Yeah, got a bunch of fries.
Yeah, a Sioux City Perkins with a mellow yellow. Did you like how they played the Danny reveal?
I did. I did like it because I thought I mean, I don't know if it was unexpected for viewers necessarily. It maybe depends on what your experience is, So I did like the reveal in a sense. I like that for Danny, particularly because I think Lady Bird has a very realistic sort of roller coaster of reaction to it throughout the rest of the movie, right? So first she's heartbroken, crash into me, you know, like there's the devastation of it all. Then there's immediately falling in love with somebody else. And then eventually she shows care and affection towards Danny. Like she understands him and she kind of understands what the situation was all about. And she does have an affection for him.
Mm-hmm.
I feel good for Danny. Danny's going to be okay.
Oh, Danny's fine. And I do think the handheld following of her, it is, I think it's the only time we get a handheld shot, but it does give urgency to the moment and get you in her space in an intelligent way.
Yeah.
Yeah, Crash Into Me. Any breakup songs for you that?
There was a song that inspired me to do a breakup.
Ooh, which one was that?
It was 1990.
James Brown Is Dead.
That'd be great too. No, it was 97. It was right after senior year, summertime, going to graduation parties with some friends, windows down, sunshine was out. I had a real jerky boyfriend and I totally regret so much of my senior year was taken up with him. So I already was feeling like I was going to do an up and out, but I hadn't told people yet. Everyone thought I was going to college in Michigan, but secretly reveal. I revealed I was moving to New York City. So before that reveal, when I was still kind of hiding my plan, I was listening to the Trainspotting soundtrack, and that Brian Eno song came in, and I hadn't fully decided I was going to New York yet. And that Brian Eno song came on, and I was like, I gotta get out of Michigan, and I gotta break up with this boy. I gotta snip, I gotta cut, I gotta pull these ripcords.
You gotta jump out of that car.
Yeah, I'm listening to Brian Eno on a sunny day, driving around Lake Erie. Baby's moving up and out. She's done. She's done. There's more to this world. And actually that same soundtrack, this isn't a breakup song at all. Because Jeremy's still my best friend, but the day he went to college, because he's a year older than me, oh God, I'm gonna cry if I talk about this, but I'll talk about it. He dropped me off at my house, and we had done everything together for ever since I did his makeup in The King and I in eighth grade. We met when we were like 5, but until I did his makeup in 8th grade for King and I, like we were inseparable. And the night before he moved to college, we sat in my driveway listening to Lou Reed's Perfect Day. And we cried and we cried and we cried. So it's not a breakup song because we're still best friends, but it's like when I hear that song, I feel gutted. Whereas when I hear Brian Eno, I'm like, up and out, I'm getting up and out. But yeah, Perfect Day, it just cut us to the bone that night.
Probably both sides of the coin for Lady Bird and Crash Into Me, like 18 years down the road. It means both. Yeah. So we talked, I noted that a lot of this is set on holidays, Thanksgiving. We now hop to Christmas, which is it's not Cratchit Christmas by any means, but it is a certain, love is what matters here more than materialism.
Yeah.
And it's very sweet.
I'm so grateful, by the way, not to interrupt. I'm so grateful Lady Bird
you're
was
never
nice.
interrupted.
I'm
Sorry,
so grateful she was nice to her mom that day. I couldn't have handled it if she rejected those socks. Yeah. I'm so grateful she was nice.
Well, and at least for me, like high-end socks, which is to say like not Hanes, like a Wigwams, like those were like valued. There's like, ooh, they get moisture weight, which is actually what people would say about Wigwams.
And the delight in Marion's face when she gives Tracy Letts that pillow, and it just made her laugh. Oh, again, give her the Oscar, give her all the Oscars, just shove her the Oscars.
And acts of non-material gifts when Larry gives the financial aid applications or says how completes them. Again, seeing the bedroom as the confessional. This is where private conversations are happening.
Yep.
No cameras, no one else in there. very like a smart way of moving things along.
Yeah.
We now see Lady Bird lily padding away from Julie, which is tough.
Yeah.
And it's tough when she's mean to people who she loves, like making fun of Sister Sarah Joan, mainly because I like Sister Sarah Joan a lot.
Yeah, she's great.
But we got a prom coming. Would you have voted for Cities of the World, Eventual Champion, Eternal Flame, or Movies as your theme?
Yeah. Well, like I said, my prom theme was silver and red. I think 97 me would have voted for either Movies or Cities of the World. Because with movies, I don't want to like show off all the weird stuff I was watching and like go as Maude from Harold and Maude. You know, like I definitely would want to do something like that. 2020 Bettina would be Eternal Flame.
Yeah, that's about right. We catch people hanging out at the Deuce. Did you have a high school Deuce?
If I did, I didn't know about it. I never got into a high school party. I don't think I ever got into one. It was me and Jeremy in Jeremy's basement, watching movies, laughing, eating a bunch of candy. We spent one New Year's Eve at Myers because it was open 24 hours. So I'm sure there was a Deuce, the Rocks, or whatever. Oh, I feel like kids played in the quarry. Quarry teams. But I was never invited, so I never laid my eyes on it.
Quarry swimming wasn't allowed.
Well, it wasn't allowed in Monroe either, Ricky, but we did it.
Ooh, we did not do those kinds of things. I can't imagine.
I know. You went to Catholic school.
Not quarry teens. So Kyle, we meet a Timothée, a Chalamet.
Love that Timmy in this role. Love that Timmy in this role.
Tim Tams knows who he is.
Yeah.
And the mix of anarchy and wealth.
It's the most perfectly written 2002, just poor little rich boy.
Yeah. Boys who have exerted so much self-control and rigor over themselves that they expect everyone to do that.
Yep.
That is a baking soda and vinegar with a ladybird. It's not gonna happen.
I love the role of Kyle, and it feels so spot on. And again, earlier I said I think it's important for women to write for women, but to have a woman write this teen boy, I don't know if a guy could have written him like that. Like, it's so spot on, and how those dudes come across to straight girls and how straight girls respond to those dudes. Like, that is such a finely filled in portrait of that whole I would have been in love with Kyle. Oh my God, I would have been so in love with a Kyle. And it is written through that lens of like loving these really dopey poor little rich boys in a way that they're totally ridiculous, but you'd fall in love with them again if you had the chance.
Yeah, you shrug off the moments of wacky.
Yeah.
When they're telling you how your cell phone's going to track you. Although,
and you're like,
prescient that Kyle. But like, you just are like, okay, whatever, I'll scoot by that. And he does his own rollies, and
he's reading Howard Zinn, and he's above everything. He's at a coffee shop. My God, he's at a coffee shop. That's cool. He's in a band.
He only reads Howard Zinn, doesn't he? Like,
yeah, only. Literally only.
The only book. The moment when Lady Bird finds out about UC Davis and lashes out. This is when an up and out gets a ceiling on them. Yeah.
I kept all my up and out energy pretty hidden until the day I moved to New York. And I had no oversight in the whole college process. So I can't grasp what it would be like to come with this sort of energy and be told no. Like, I just didn't tell anybody. Nobody knew what I was doing. I was totally alone in applying for college. So not a counselor, not a parent. But I can only imagine that I'd have a breakdown, throw a tantrum.
And I like the way that Marion and Lady Bird, when they have disagreements, it is a very much, when they go to the nuclear warfare level, it is, well, it's a Cold War thing, because it's like spy versus spy. Like,
Right.
I'll throw a bomb at you and I'll have a pipe that's U-shaped and send the bomb back.
Yeah.
But I'll get a trampoline. They just clap and back and back.
Yep. And the nice dad sits back, right? Tracy Letts, legendary Tracy Letts of stage and screen, but mostly stage. He plays that role of just like I'm not going to interfere with perfection.
He's literally playing solitaire.
Yes, he's literally playing solitaire while the Cold War is bringing the house down around him.
And I conflated the UC Davis blow up with the suspension blow up. And the suspension blow up comes because of the assembly. And this is the point where Lady Bird's histrionics are causing trouble. This could be the influence of a Jenna over a Julie, for example, what your launch pad is. Any favorite school assemblies for you growing up?
There was one. We didn't have that many in high school. Though the year after I graduated, Lisa Ling came and did a special on reducing prejudice at our school because everybody was always fighting.
Oh, for Channel 1?
I don't know if I think it was for Oprah.
Oh, she had moved to Oprah already.
She had moved to Oprah. It was like it was like 99. So
it might have been her and Anderson Cooper are on Channel 1 together. And then I think they get those up and outs.
Ups and outs.
Can't keep them in.
I do remember one assembly, I think it was more in elementary school, and my partner thinks this is the worst thing he's ever heard because he comes from really high cultural capital, but I thought it was great coming from low cultural capital. But we had a symphony come and they played all the commercial jingles we might know.
Oh.
like the beef is what's for dinner. Yeah, it's a high-low. And whenever I tell that story, my partner, who, again, traveled the world, lived in all these places, is like, that is the worst thing I've ever heard. I'm like, we loved it. We loved it.
We all know those jingles. What do you want?
So that was a keeper of a day. That's something I was like, ooh, are musical instruments cool and fun? They are now. Now that I've heard the it's what's for dinner jingle.
Oh, it's Aaron Copland. That's classy.
Yeah, right?
No, that's a different song, but you get the idea.
I thought it was that one.
Yeah, I was just doing a different one, but yeah. I was not far off. I was more rodeo. The fear of Jenna showing up at Nancy Reagan's house. And the jig is up. The jig is up. And then a quick cut to her inside the kitchen. And she takes the excuse of, well, you're a liar. You lie, you're a liar. I hate liars. And you can plug in, I hate poor people. Yeah.
The way she eyeball pats that kitchen. Yeah. No, you can say, I hate liars, and then it's a clean break and nobody can fight about that. But she could have just said, I hate poor people. That scene is, that's just hard to watch. When you see Jenna strolling up in front of that big blue house in the 40s, and she just thinks she's being a chill friend dropping by. Ooh, that is brutal. And it's a reoccurring theme with Lady Bird. She's not necessarily, I mean, she sort of hides her class position in some way. She has her dad drop her off farther from school. She lies about where she lives. But in other ways,
Vintage
like
is
with Danny,
cool.
right? With Danny, she says, "Oh, I'm from the other side, the wrong side of the tracks." So she kind of leans in or leans out depending on who she's interacting with, and if she's trying to blend in or stand apart. With Danny, who I hope they end up becoming really good friends the rest of their life, she was doing the stand apart, and she said, "Oh, this is your grandmother's house. I've loved this house, right? Like I've admired this house, and I'm from the wrong side of the tracks." With the Kyle and Jenna, she hides things, and with Julie, Julie's the same as her, so it's all pretty honest there.
Which doesn't read in for me until you see her apartment complex,
Right.
because of the car that she's dropped off. That was a good reveal later in the movie for me.
Yeah.
The Kyle and Lady Bird sex scene, thumbs up, thumbs down?
Thumbs up. Again, I appreciate that it's written by a woman. I love when Lady Bird says she can't believe she lost her virginity on top. I think that's a really good line, because she had an idea of what it was supposed to be. And she had an idea that Kyle was also a virgin. And, the cut to 10 years later, like she's really built up the story in her head of what sex is going to be for the first time. And it's not that. And she gets a nosebleed, and Kyle's pretty lame, which I also think is super funny. Like, yeah.
He doesn't even keep a list.
No. Why would you not keep a list in high school? I like the sex scene, and there was something else I wanted to say about it. She thinks they're both virgin. She gets her nosebleed. The cut to
when she leaves the house, the kind of John Waters looking dad in the living room,
who's sick. Yeah, in the living room, and he's sick. No, I just thought that was another well-written scene where Kyle's still Kyle. Like, he didn't try to manipulate her into having sex. He didn't try to coerce her. He didn't tremble. They finally did it. Like, I don't know why in so many movies boys tremble when they have sex in high school. Oh, because it's usually when they're losing their virginity in movies. And I guess in this one, he wasn't a virgin. But like, Kyle was just Kyle. Like, Kyle, one way or the other, just doesn't really care that much. And Lady Bird wanted it to be really meaningful. And Kyle's like, well, it is if you want it to be, and it's not if you don't. Like, why are you making such a big deal out of this?
And Kyle's not asking things from the world. I mean, he's got his own, he is self-sustaining in his own way. And you understand what allows him to withdraw, if it's, the trauma of his father or the wealth and the privilege that makes that happen.
Mm-hmm.
But then Marion picks her up, and they do their favorite Sunday activity, which is dream homing,
open
houses.
Yeah.
If you could open house one home in South Bend, which one would it be?
Oh, well, I've already got my eyeballs in on the one that has the indoor pool, because I went to a party there once. So that's a good one to get my peepers on. There is one house in town I would consider leaving my house for, because I like my house in my Lady Bird bedroom.
Mm-hmm.
And it's way, way down on the river. It might even be in Mishawaka, our sister city, or not our sister city. What are they? Our neighbor? I don't know. And it has an in-ground pool, and it's situated in a not straight way. Like, it's not exactly on the street, but it's not perpendicular. It's an odd angle, and it has Spanish tiles. And it's just, I know. Well, yeah, but an in-grounder on the river, like water on water for a Scorpio. Yeah. Is there one that you've eyeballed?
I mean, there's the potential commune house on Riverside. I would like to do a walk through that.
I would definitely do a walkthrough on that.
because there's galleries, there's an in-ground pool, and
Oh,
I would like to see how it unfolds because it is such a compound.
yeah,
And I think that's the fun of an open house. I think you either do big open houses or small, quaint, like, ooh,
yeah.
how does this piece together one? So
Oh, that reminds me, there's a real odd looking structure just to get, you said compounds. I won't say where it is or what it looks like, but I know the architect was trying to blend a like corporate Notre Dame with industrial South Bend styles. And from the outside, it looks like it could house like 1,000 bunk beds.
oh, I would like an open house.
I would like to just see the blueprints or a layout, but I'd love an open house. I don't understand its design, and I want to see it.
Yeah, you gotta get inside them to see, well, the outsides, as we do in Lady Bird. See inside and you get everything else. Um, get some pre-online notification era admissions letters. Really smart editing here, cutting to regret, unable, waitlist to tell that story very efficiently, a very good use of what we say
Yeah.
film language.
And I love how she just tosses. She doesn't care about the actual individual colleges. She just wants to move to the East Coast.
Yeah.
So like
Yeah.
toss it. Like she's not heartbroken about not getting into CUNY. Like toss it. She
Yeah.
just needs one small hook in, one wait
Yeah.
list.
It's like Sarah Lawrence. Is Sarah Lawrence in New York City? It's just like, is this an option or not? Like,
Yeah.
she doesn't know anything about Sarah Lawrence, including
No.
whether or not it's in the city. It's just, can it get me what I need?
Yeah.
Have you seen those the videos of kids, YouTube videos of kids with their live reactions if they find out if they got into a college?
No, I don't want to see that. That's a thing.
It is a thing. It is a thing.
I
They'll
don't
do
want to
it.
see. Mm-mm.
It's funny because it's about 10 minutes and they edit them together, but they apply to all of these schools, and it's I mean, they obviously the ones with the biggest hits tends to be those who don't get in everywhere, right? Because you need the nose to go up. But when I first got my television and the YouTube app on my Roku, my 65-incher, it was an option. Like, I just signed in. It was one of those, I clicked on it, but now it always suggests these. So every
Oh
once in
boy.
a while I'll fall into them. Dad's job interview.
Um,
Mm.
yeah.
It's one of the more convenient moments in the story where they're both going for the same job and don't know about it, but love the costumes.
Those suits.
That slouchy suit, that
Yep.
loose collar.
Well, I guess not 90s, but the probably suits from the 90s, even though it's 2002.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
Miguel taking his jewelry out.
Yep.
Listen to Lady Bird.
Mm-hmm.
Then pop to when they are in is it a consignment thrift store, whatever, shop, and we get the looking for a prom dress. And a lot of times people talk about passive aggressiveness.
Mm-hmm.
And from someone who teaches it, like, how do you quickly define what passive aggressive means? Because it gets slapped around a lot. How do
Right.
you directly or correctly apply it?
So I would define it as saying it is a deliberate form of hurting somebody, but doing it in a way that's subtle or not super explicit. So you are trying to, like when we're defining aggression, we're talking about intent. So when somebody is intending to be passive aggressive, they're trying to hurt somebody, but it's just not explicit.
Okay, paper cuts.
Yeah, paper cuts. And you're trying to give those paper cuts. It's not an accidental paper cut.
Got it. Best line from the movie from me: "I wish you liked me." Lady Bird says that, and her mom says, "Of course I love you."
Yeah.
Thumbs it up. We then hop to a very nice prom reconciliation with Julie and Lady Bird. How do you score Lady Bird's look?
Love it. I love that the dress matches the hair. I love a heavy costume jewelry. I love that in this movie, she doesn't have like perfect skin and a kind of crappy dye job. And she did, hey, she did what she had to do. Lady Bird did what she had to do. I'll take it over a Andy and Pretty in Pink dress any day.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. For sure. And this is also, it's not what you wear, it's how you wear it at a certain
Exactly.
point.
Yeah.
And if you can give it a punk swing, you can get away with anything, really.
Yeah.
In high school. Then have a production of The Tempest, which snooze, and Graduation. With Graduation, a little bit of speculative fiction time. Curious where you think the following characters ended up going to college.
Okay.
How about a Danny?
Danny is an NYU Tisch or Loyola. I think you had talked about that, but as soon as you said,
it's
I was
Loyola
like,
Marymount. I think it's
yeah.
Loyola. He's not too far from home, and a Catholic school.
Yeah, he'll do NYU Tisch for his MFA.
Okay. How about Kyle?
Kyle to me is a Wesleyan. Yeah, he's a Wesleyan to me.
I think he's going to Evergreen State.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's taken some time off.
Mm.
And then I think he finishes at a large public university out of state.
He'll definitely take a year off to like do urban archaeology or to like build a boat somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then finish at a big state. Yeah.
Yeah. Julie, we know is starting. We don't know. Well, maybe she opts out, but she starts at Sac Community College. I think she then goes to UC Davis. I think she gets, she heads out.
I think she does Davis or Berkeley.
I hope so.
Yeah.
I hope she's doing math somewhere.
I know.
How about a Jenna?
So Jenna's gonna have to go somewhere, even though she doesn't want to, but it's expected of her and her parents will pay for it. So I wish I knew California schools better. Is there, like, I think she's gonna go someplace private. I think it could be a Loyola. I think it could be another Loyola, a private school that has a name.
I have University of San Diego. She does her college trip, falls in love with it. Still a private school, Catholic school.
Oh, right.
Jenna's boyfriend, Jonah.
Oh, he also, I think, is supposed to be high income, so he'll be expected to go somewhere. He'll do a 6-year run at a UC.
Yeah, I think he's a Berkeley.
Mm-hmm.
Greg, Danny's crush.
Oh.
I think he goes to NYU and like bumps into Lady Bird and they like get to kind of know one another again.
Yeah.
Darlene, the slouchy lector.
Oh, see, and here's where I don't know Catholic school enough to know about a slouchy lector. I can't really place her in my memory palace.
She's going to Notre Dame. And love it. Well, I'll take Darlene energy here. I love Darlene so much. We then have, after graduation, Danny lets the cat out of the bag and Marion learns about New York. And I like this because Marion withholds and knows that this is not the time to spy versus spy. Right. And just lets Lady Bird spiral and throw everything at her in order to get a reaction.
Mm-hmm.
And she knows that that's a way to punish her, is to not give her something that she can then turn against Marion. Like anything Marion says.
Don't give her the pipe. Don't give her the pipe to drop the bomb down.
Yeah. That's a great moment. And then that summertime, moments of growing up, when she passes the driver's test, a moment when she's entering a world of the new world of like no thank yous. She's like, thank yous, like doesn't have to matter. It's like that's adulthood. Like people don't say or expect thank you. It's transactional now.
Yeah.
When she turns 18, did you get a Playgirl or Camel Lights or Scratchums?
I wish I would have thought of that. I was alone for my 18th birthday. I moved to New York when I was technically a minor. I was 17 when I hopped out of town and up and outed. So I celebrated by myself in New York. I don't remember what I did. I really, really wish I would have bought, yeah, a Playgirl, definitely a Playgirl, and definitely some Scratchums. I really regret missing that. Did
I
you?
like
Did you get some Scratchums?
it was like a tradition, like whenever friends would turn 18.
Really?
Yeah, you would just go and
Cool.
buy and like not even if you didn't smoke, you just buy cigarettes
That's
and you'd
cool. I
laugh
didn't think of
about it,
that.
and then you'd hand them to someone who did smoke, like
Yeah.
something to celebrate it. And I do remember getting Scratchums, actually Scratchum singular. But yeah, and it was not a winner. Um, when we get so the various moments of her leaving for college, this is
Oh,
Marion writing draft after draft, Ladybird literally painting over her past.
yeah.
Subtle moments, and then an airplane scene.
Hmm.
What was the big hit for you there?
Oh, um, the big. So I always kind of hold my breath sort of during these Ladybird getting ready to leave home montages. And it's because I always think that's where the movie's going to end. Certainly the first time I saw it. So I've seen it 3 times now. And the first time I thought that's where the movie was going to end. And I just like try to hold it all in as the plane took off. Like that for me, I was just like, oh God, what's going to happen to her? Of course, that's not where the movie ends. So now I can make it through a lot of her kind of getting ready to leave home scenes, but it is always really difficult to see Marion pull away from the airport, because she's still doing Cold War. She's still Cold Warring. And to see her pull away from the airport and like she can't control this situation and she is going to miss her. And she gets back and she's already gone. Like it's done. Like that part, it doesn't mirror what my experience was. But just watching Laurie Metcalf, watching her face in that scene deserved 2 Oscars minimum. Minimum. The range of emotions, while also, driving, checking out her mirrors and just trying to stay angry, and she can't.
That loop. And it's not quite real time, but they keep you in there with her.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the shot is very tight. It's not but it's not a close-up. So again, like you said, you're aware of the world around her and her engaging it. It's really well done.
And I can't remember if it's part of the airport scene or later on when she's in her dorm. I think it's in the airport where Tracy Letts, her father, says, your mother wrote you these letters and she didn't give them to you because she thought you judged her writing. And that actually kills me.
Yeah.
That kills me because Ladybird's not actually a very good student. But her mother already has this idea that Ladybird will judge her writing. And that does cut really, really deep. And that part makes me cry.
Yeah, it's being aware of Marion's insecurities.
She her daughter is going up and out.
Yeah, and she knows. I think she's aware of like her daughter's intelligence and something she is able to do very well, as Sister Sarah Jones says about her essay, is write and is very observant, and gives attention, which equals love in some cases, and. She knows that she has, if anything, taught her the jiu-jitsu required to just like cut people down.
Yeah.
But then Lady Bird arrives in New York City for college. Have you ever arrived in New York City for college?
About 20 years ago. Yes.
What is it like? What is it like stepping off that bus?
For somebody who had never been to New York City and was the first in her family to go to college, I knew I was home. I was like, yep, absolutely correct. I can finally relax. I can finally do what I want. I mean, I did what I wanted anyways, but I felt right at home. And certainly I missed people because my other alternative was going to U of M, which is where my best friend Jeremy was. And that was one of the hardest decisions I've ever made. Telling him that I wasn't going to U of M was one of the hardest, like when I revealed my up and out plan, because actually I said yes to U of M and I said nothing to the school in New York because I couldn't bear to say no to them. And I just kind of let it roll, let it roll, let it roll. And the week classes began at U of M, I started the process of going to U of M. And that's when I was like, actually, I'm moving to New York. So I let it dangle, which means I missed orientation. I did not have a dorm. My school didn't know I was coming. I knew nothing about college because I knew nothing about college. So I literally got there the day classes started because to me, it was like the first day of school. Like, why would you need to be there before that? And I had pulled
Reasonable.
So I pulled out my reveal for so long because I couldn't really bear to tell Jeremy I wasn't going to U of M. So I got there the day classes began, and I walked myself right down to 5th Ave and 11th Street, which is where Lady Bird ends up in the very last shot of the movie, right outside my undergraduate university, literally same block. And I walked myself to the dean's office and I was like, I'm here for college. What do you got? So up and out. I only talk about it in positive terms now because I'm alive, right? Like I didn't get killed and I did actually end up graduating from college and getting a PhD. So actually I up and outed in a really successful way in terms of what it could have been. But so I laugh about it now, but in retrospect, I'm like, that's insane. I was a minor who got herself to New York and just walked into the dean's office and said, I'm here for college. Literally 2 suitcases and a pillow under my arm.
I like how that's a real understanding of college through TV too. Like, take me to the dean.
Please. Actually, just last year I found a letter the dean, or instructions the dean wrote for me that day, because to her credit, she let me put my suitcases and pillow in her office. She put me in a class, a genetics class, with Dr. Katiyun Chamini, who ended up being my undergraduate advisor, who's a wonderful geneticist. And she wrote me a letter or a note of everything I had to do that day. And she actually understood how much I didn't understand. So it's like exit building, turn right. That's 5th Avenue, turn left. Go into this building. That's where you have to choose classes. I mean, and it was a literal step-by-step, like how many steps I had to walk around Greenwich Village to get to these buildings in a place I'd never been before, but also just like, okay, how do you actually get enrolled in college? I didn't know.
That's a great dean.
Yeah, she's great. Jennifer.
Thanks, Jennifer. Then the last answering machine monologue. Well, I note that Lady Bird has her own pretty shaky start.
I love that we see her in New York, by the way. I love that we don't cut at the plane taking off or her just popping out at that West 4th Street stop. Do you know she pops out at West 4th? Yep. Yeah. Which is a clue that she's going to NYU or the new school if she's cool. But so we get to, I love that we get to see her have a little bit of time in New York with alcohol poisoning. And I love her, again, leaning in by saying it's the greatest hits. Like, why wouldn't you want all the greatest hits? It's a lean back in.
She takes some of Sacramento with her.
Yep.
You know, like her high school shticks. You know, because that's what your first year of college is like. I got to play some of my high school shticks and see if that people dance to that record.
Exactly.
And something tells me Greta Gerwig strikes me as a handshaker. She would have done like how do you do, like in like a formal, funny way in high school? And like you try these things.
Yep.
You find out if they work, and some do, some don't, and a bottle of vodka doesn't. So
no, you end up at St. Vincent's, and then you wander over to 5th and 11th, where I love that she goes into a church. I think that's a Presbyterian church right there. But I like that she goes to something that seems familiar in a sense after, you know, this. And then when she calls home, I do cry. I cry. Because it's so good.
It's a wrecker.
Yeah.
But it's beautiful, and I think it was a very wise move. Like the letters, that these are, you know, these are ham radio things. We're sending things out. If you hear them, you hear them. Broadcasts, I should say. And so Marion has hers. She returns it. You know, there doesn't need to be interaction. We're just left with sentiments.
Yes.
It's a very smart move. Very smart move.
Beautiful.
And a very, very smart movie. So. Okay, so that's going to take us to the end of Lady Bird. But Professor Spencer, did you know that Proust had a younger sister named Becky, who developed a 5-question questionnaire to determine whether or not you love movies?
Is that the one James Lipton did?
No, this is Proust's younger sister,
Becky's. Oh, okay. Okay, Becky's. I didn't know. I don't know Becky's questions.
R.I.P. Lipton, a surprising nonagerian.
I know.
Not a
new
day
school legends.
Over 50. Aw, true.
Actor
Did
studio.
you ever see him? Did you ever see him?
Yeah, man, he's a professor. He's hanging out.
Yeah. Well, would you care to take the test?
Yes, I'd like to do Becky's test.
I have my social scientist classes.
Oh, great. Wait a second. Okay, go.
What was your first R-rated movie?
Ooh. Well, I got to watch all sorts of R-rated movies when I was at my Aunt Jenny's house. We did a lot of George Romero. We did a lot of Alien. But the first R-rated movie I chose on my own that I didn't just like receive was on the night of October 6, 1987. And I know that day because it's my brother's birthday. And my mom and stepdad ran to the hospital in the middle of the night. And my sister and I used that moment to do nighttime TV watching, which was a treat and a thrill. And we scanned all the free views till we found a pay channel. And we looked for an R-rated movie on purpose because we were home alone in the nighttime. It was great. And we watched Stand By Me, which is actually a really good movie. But I think not what we were looking for in regards to R-rated material. I think we wanted
you get a dead body, you get some swears.
Yeah,
I think get a gross out.
I think we wanted it to be sexier.
Yeah. Well, does Stand By Me have nudity?
Like dead nudity, maybe. Not fun. We wanted to find an R-rated movie. We wanted, like a real, there's a college party. We wanted a Porky's, but what was available on a free view at 4 a.m. was a Stand By Me. And we watched the whole thing.
Mm-hmm. What movie would you be compelled to buy, even though you may already own a copy, if you found it at Pickers Paradise for $2?
So many. So many. But the number one, going back to me and Jeremy, every weekend for about 3 to 4 years, we went to Blockbuster and rented a motion picture, officially a motion picture, because it clocks in at 61 minutes, of a little 1975 San Francisco movie called Criminally Insane. How did a 61 minutes janky movie make it to the Monroe Blockbuster? I don't know, but we rented it 200 to 300 times. And it was, I mean, I own it on VHS, but if I ever saw a copy in the wild, snatch it up.
Mm-hmm. Noted. What is the best movie to watch on a second date?
So I'm assuming dates, you're doing high lows. First dates maybe a high cultural capital event. You want your second date to be a low.
Like a jingle symphony?
Yeah. The classiest. So if you've done a jingle symphony for date one, you got to watch a campy movie that you don't have to follow so closely. And if the person's cool, they'll laugh. So a Return of the Living Dead. Yep. Return, the 80s, the campy, the gutter punks, there's a gas in the air. Like you don't have to pay close attention. You can laugh, you can make jokes.
Watch out for the third step in the basement.
Yep.
Question one, sub question. What's your favorite pizza?
Oh, well, I'd be remiss if I didn't say River's Edge Pizza in Dundee, Michigan, owned by my mom. The deep Sicilian with extra feta.
Nice. And what is the best movie to eat on the couch with that pizza?
Oh, Showgirls. Because it's funny. Basically, anything comforting. So if there's a movie you've watched a million times and you want a warm blanket of an experience and it makes you laugh and you know some of the lines and choreography, like, yeah.
You want a deep dish.
Eat it with a deep dish.
Mm-hmm. You are 10 years old and receive a screener from the future. Okay. What film most blows your mind?
Oh, a screener from the future. A screener from the future. Oh God, I'm going through like a Rolodex of my favorite movies because I don't think I'd want to see a Rushmore or a Lady Bird when I was 10, because I'd like to think I charted my own path. And had I seen one of those, I maybe wouldn't feel the same way. I don't know why this is stuck in my head. I think it's because I'm thinking of the 90th Academy Awards, but I want to say The Shape of Water. Or Pan's Labyrinth.
Noted. 1 second, I will calculate this in SPSS. And hey, turns out you love movies.
I do. That might be the theme of my next prom.
Becky never lies. Hey, you love movies, and we loved having you here on Zoom That Camera talk about a movie you love. It was such a treat. Thank you very much, Professor Spessner. And we will be back next week, Monday through Thursday, with new films, new guests, and a lot of fun. So please do subscribe or whatnot. And we will be letting you know what films we'll be watching Monday through Thursday. Tomorrow, the announcement will come out. So look forward to that. Ooh. With that, have a good weekend, everybody. And we will see you very, very soon. Bye.
Bye.